Good evening, everyone. If you could please take your seats. This is the Ridgewood Village Council regular public meeting on August 14th, 2024. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law of a schedule, including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Perrin.
Here.
Councilmember Reynolds.
Here.
Councilmember Whites.
Here.
Councilmember Winograd.
Here.
And Mayor Vagianos is absent.
Please join me in a salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now we'll go to acceptance of financial reports. I move the bills, claims, and vouchers and statement of funds on hand as of July 31st, 2024 be accepted as submitted.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
And Winograd.
Yes. Next, we'll go to approval of the minutes. I move that the Village Council minutes of February 26th, February 28th, March 27th, May 22nd, 2024, having been reviewed by the Village Council and now available in the Village Clerk's office, be approved as submitted.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
I was absent on March 27th. I'm yes for all of the other dates.
And now,
Whites.
Oh, yes.
And Winograd.
Yes.
now we'll go to our proclamations. Councilwoman Winograd, would you like to take the first one?
Sure. So, whereas ovarian cancer is called the silent killer because its symptoms are often vague or subtle, making ovarian cancer a leading cause of death of cancer among women and the leading cause of gynecological cancer death in the United States. And whereas almost 20,000 women in the United States will receive a diagnosis of ovarian cancer and about 12,740 will die from it in 2024. And whereas the Kaleidoscope of Hope Foundation, a local nonprofit group founded by Gail McNeil of Chatham Township, who was inspired by her own experiences, raises funds for ovarian cancer research and increases awareness of the disease and its symptoms, and wishes to remind the public that September is Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. And whereas the Kaleidoscope of Hope has partnered with National Ovarian Cancer Coalition to support the, quote, Turn the Towns Teal campaign. And whereas there is no early detection test for ovarian cancer, which is truly why Turn the Towns Teal campaign is so very critical in promoting awareness about the symptoms of ovarian cancer, fighting the disease, and supporting the women who bravely carry on. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood calls upon citizens to raise ovarian cancer awareness, which will help Americans live longer, healthier lives, and hereby proclaims September 2024 as Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, as we rededicate ourselves to the pursuit of new and better ways to prevent, detect, and treat this devastating disease.
Thank you. Councilwoman Reynolds, would you like to take the next proclamation?
Thank you. Whereas National Preparedness Month creates an important opportunity for every resident of the Village of Ridgewood to prepare their homes, businesses, schools, institutions of higher learning, houses of worship, and community-based organizations for any type of emergency, including natural disasters and potential terrorist attacks. And whereas investing in preparedness can reduce fatalities and economic devastation in our communities and in our nation, whether the emergency is large-scale or a smaller local event. And whereas National Preparedness Month is a part of a governmental effort to have federal, state, local, tribal, territorial, private, and volunteer agencies working to increase public activities in preparing for emergencies and to educate individuals on how to take action. And whereas emergency preparedness is a personal responsibility, and every resident of the Village of Ridgewood is urged to make preparedness a priority. And whereas this year, The Ready Campaign's 2024 National Preparedness Month campaign will focus on preparing Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities for risks and disasters which continue to threaten the nation. And whereas the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander community is a large, diverse group that spans across many cultures, languages, and unique circumstances that must be considered when developing strategies to prepare for a disaster. And whereas locally, disaster preparedness, response, and recovery requires the efforts of the entire village. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood, Bergen County, New Jersey, hereby does proclaim September 2024 as National Preparedness Month and encourages all residents and businesses to prepare now for future emergencies and to work together to create a better prepared community for all.
Thank you. I'll read the next proclamation. Whereas September is known around the United States as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month and is intended to help promote awareness surrounding each of the suicide prevention resources available to us and our community, the simple goal is to learn how to help those around us and how to talk about suicide without increasing the risk of harm. And whereas suicidal thoughts can affect anyone, regardless of age, gender, race, sexual orientation, income level, religion, or background. And whereas suicide is the 12th leading cause of death in the United States, the second leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 10 and 14, and the third leading cause of death among teens and young adults ages 15 to 24. And whereas in the United States, over 49,000 people died by suicide in 2022, one death every 11 minutes, which is a 2.6% increase over the number of deaths in 2021. And whereas it is estimated that in 2022 there were 1.6 million suicide attempts, and over 90% of the people who die by suicide have a diagnosable and treatable mental health condition, although often that condition has not been recognized or treated. And whereas the Village of Ridgewood, New Jersey, is no different from any other community in the country, but chooses to publicly state and place our full support behind local educators, mental health professionals, athletic coaches, scout leaders, police officers, and parents as partners in supporting our community in simply being available to one another. And whereas local organizations like Suicide Prevention Services, SPS, and national organizations like the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, are on the front lines of a battle that many still refuse to discuss in public, as suicide and mental illness remain taboo topics which are not spoken about. And whereas every resident of the Village of Ridgewood should understand that throughout life's struggles, we all need the occasional reminder that we are all silently fighting our own battles. And whereas the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood encourages all residents to take the time to inquire as to the well-being of their family, friends, and neighbors over the next few days, and to genuinely convey their appreciation for their existence by any gesture they deem appropriate. A simple phone call, a message, a handshake, or a hug can go a long way towards helping someone realize that suicide is not the answer. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim September 2024 National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in the Village of Ridgewood, and asks our residents to open minds, save lives, and restore hope through prevention and intervention through the use of education, advocacy, and collaboration. And now we will have swearing in of 3 new police officers. I call up first Officer Lucas Adamkowitz. He'll stand here. Now, left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. Please repeat after me. I, Lucas Adamkowitz, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
and I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
perform all the duties of the office of police officer
and perform all the duties of the office of police officers
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Next, I call up Adam Kalora. Okay. All right, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Adam Kalora,
I, Adam Kalora,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
impartially, and justly
perform all the duties of the office of police officer
perform all the duties of the office of police officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Next, I call up Joseph Misselmeri. And before you all leave, I did want to say that I know you three officers are anxious to serve honorably on the police force, and you're really privileged to work with this police force because it is so well led, so well trained. It is a total benefit to our community, and we welcome you to this community, all three of you. All right, just place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Joseph Missel-Mary,
I, Joseph Missel-Mary,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
perform all the duties of the office of police officer
perform all the duties of the office of police officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
And now we'll go to, well, we're going to wait just till it's a little quieter. Okay, and now we'll go to comments from the public.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Boyd A. Loving, Ridgewood. I'm here tonight to give a shout-out to Mike Junta. There's been a major pothole on Grove Street for years. I've lived in the Grove Street area for a long time, since 1979. And it's been a major pothole in Grove Street near Kenilworth Road for a long time. It was a depression caused by a public service manhole. And I finally realized that my car was taking a beating and gave Mike a call. And it took him about a month to get public service to fix it, but he did get it fixed. So I'd like to give a shout-out to Mike that he went above and beyond because it was not a Ridgewood problem, it was a public service problem, and he did get straightened out. So thank you very much to Mike.
Thank you, Boyd. Anyone else here in the room?
Rurik Hallaby, 1 Franklin Avenue. A couple of short comments. One, I want to thank the village manager for the letter that came out describing the situation at the berm and giving us comfort that the village hall is on top of it. Now, as far as the next step, I'm praying that the DEP will come and say, tear down the berm, and then let's start all over again, having a nice wall. But Keith, thank you very much. Also, a question I have about the athletic playing field. the fact that it's turf and all this fear-mongering about it's going to be poisoning the wells and everything else. I wonder if the county has, or the DEP has, a position about turf fields. One of you must know, or one of you can find out quickly by calling up the county or the DEP. But in any case, I again want to thank Keith for day after day after day. We are kept totally informed with what's happening in the village. Communications at its best. And I do love the website because I spend a lot of time on it and it keeps me posted. Thank you very much, Keith, and thank you.
Thank you, Rurik. Anyone else?
Good evening, Ann Loving. We were away last week, but we had the opportunity to watch the meeting on YouTube after we returned home. And I have a couple of comments about the meeting last week, all of which relate to trees and global warming. And I also have a suggestion. The first comment about last week's meeting is that when Councilwoman Winograd said, and I quote, "Progress and development take out trees," unquote. Global warming is real. The whole earth is feeling it. We were in Barcelona on the hottest day in their recorded history. Trees help mitigate global warming. Every tree counts. It is not progress, Councilwoman Winograd, to take out trees. It is the polar opposite of progress. Ms. Winograd also turned to Councilwoman Reynolds and said, quote, "Your sidewalks took out trees." I found it very interesting that Ms. Winograd referred to the sidewalk project as being the responsibility of Councilwoman Reynolds. All of you, including Winograd, voted for the sidewalk projects. Such a gratuitous swipe at a council colleague is well beneath what we would hope from our elected officials. Also last week, Councilwoman Reynolds was bemoaning the planned removal of over 200 trees to be replaced by less than 100 saplings, and she said it was not going to be an even trade. In response to this, Councilman Weitz accused Councilwoman Reynolds of trying to make political hay on the Shedler issue. This is not the first time that Councilman Weitz has accused Councilwoman Reynolds of trying to make political hay, as he calls it. The one person on the dais who is absolutely not a politician is Councilwoman Reynolds. Again, such a gratuitous swipe to a council colleague is beneath what we should be getting from you, but it's starting to become a pattern. Finally, I have a suggestion. I've learned from someone on Shade Tree that 60 small trees which are supposed to be planted are proving difficult to find. Apparently, the larger ones like the oak and the London plane trees that can be planted on the side of the street that doesn't have wires are plentiful, but the smaller ones are in short supply. A number of years ago, a gentleman named Ted Schlesinger worked for the village, and he was a tree expert. He told me that there was some sort of tree farm in Ridgewood, I don't know where trees were being cultivated specifically to be planted around town. I remember being at a store in Ridgewood when Ted came with one of those trees that had been cultivated by Ridgewood to be planted in the CBD. My suggestion is that you consider making such a tree farm at Shedler. Clearly, trees love to grow at Shedler because there's a few hundred that have been growing without any tending or assistance. So this would be an ideal spot to grow whatever trees are needed. I just have a couple more moments. This would be an ideal spot to grow whatever trees are needed to plant along the streetscapes of town. Children could be involved with their cultivation, as could adults and senior citizens, who are also adults. School groups. The whole plan of the artificial turf field has got to come to an end. We should take advantage of the property on Shedler to reduce global warming in any way that we can by growing trees, not by taking them down. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne.
Cynthia O'Keefe, Ridgewood. So last week I made a few comments at the end of the meeting, as I often do. And I'm glad this time I'm actually going after Mr. Hallaby, because he usually has something to say about what I have to say. So that's flattery, in my opinion. We don't always agree, but he's welcome to, have his say too. So what I wanted to do is address some of my comments. And one of them was my heart went out to the woman who talked about the Clinton Avenue sidewalks. And, a few of you made comments. I wasn't bashing Ridgewood. I was just saying I think sometimes we need to get all on the same page, and I don't find that happens all the time. So take it for what it's worth. Maybe that's a constructive piece of criticism for your inbox. I get constructive criticism at my job too, and I think it was more than fair that the woman came here and expressed herself. She's got a special needs child, and I'm never going to stop caring about people in Ridgewood, ever. Okay, and that includes my neighborhood. And so when some of you say that you object or you felt insulted, guess what? There's been a palpable disdain for the Shedler neighbors on many occasions, and we haven't said anything. So that's what I'm going to say on that topic. I never said that Shedler was purchased for the East Side residents, so let me clear that up right now. What I said was there were a number of applications where Ridgewood went out and solicited grant money from various organizations, one being the Historic Preservation Fund, where and it was Janet Frick, Assistant Village Clerk, who signed it in 2021. It was a grant application of the Village of Ridgewood submitted to the Historic Trust, and it supports the historic significance of the house and property, okay? And property, not just house. Given the proximity to the church and the crossroads, and she goes on with, some historical context. She said when Route 17 was constructed, the residents on the east side of the highway were cut off from the center of the village. As a result, they feel this dramatic change in the landscape and the loss of a local school in their area, and there is no place in the village they identify with. This is on a grant application where money was received. So please don't ever tell me that I'm making things up and that Shedler was purchased for the east side. I never said that. What I'm saying is in most of the grant applications, there was a nod to the East Side residents. So let's not go back and try to reinvent history. And if you want me to pull them up, I will come week after week and I will read them all. So I want you to go back and educate yourself for those of you who said whatever you said that was negating my comment. There was a nod to the East Side residents. We didn't have a park on the East Side. And you've all gone and on your merry way, and you're probably giddy thinking about the new plan you're going to drum up for Shedler. But please consider the residents in that neighborhood. And when we talk about, Shaban, you talked, and MJ Aguilar was here, and this is my last point. You said inclusion doesn't work if everyone doesn't feel included, okay? So we're not feeling included, and I think that you need to put a committee together to discuss whatever new plans, if the plan is going to be revamped and the clock is not going to start ticking on the old plan, then I think you need to include neighbors in this, any kind of decision making, just like the ad hoc committee. Otherwise, it's unfair to this neighborhood. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Okay, we'll go to hybrid access. Denise, you're up.
Good evening, everybody. It's Denise Lima, 319 East Glen Ave in Ridgewood. Haven't seen you for a while, so I have a few quick updates. First, thanks on the proclamation for the ovarian cancer. I think you all know that I'm a survivor of that, going on 12, 13 years now. Any discussion about how Ridgewood would demonstrate the support of ovarian cancer by way of maybe putting ribbons around trees at Van Ness? I think that demonstration would be great. In the news, since the last time I was here, the billboard was voted down by the board. I think they did the right thing. Really encouraging and refreshing to see. When we talk about the berm and the soil and being removed, there are rare local Red River rocks that were thrown in that berm or on the side of the berm, which is now covered by weeds. I'd like to recommend that we save those rocks and maybe build something thoughtfully because they're rare. There's only a few houses that have them. Mine is one of them, the Shedler house as well. So maybe we could just be careful when we're removing the soil to save those rocks. Hybrid access has now been around for a year. Thank you, because it allows me to dial in, but I'm curious to understand what's been happening over the last year and what other improvements have we done. I know we've talked about putting the Sunshine Binder online or expanding hybrid to the Zoning and Planning Board of Adjustments. I've written a few times about meeting minutes. There's about 45 meetings, 5 additional minutes approved tonight. There's still 30 that are not posted. I know that there's issues with people, process, but I think we have to do a better job of getting those out there quickly. Pam's still waiting for an overview of the master plan, who's on the committee, things have changed, what are some of the updates. Evan, as far as HPC, where are we with adding the corridor to the Paramus Church area that's in the master plan? I went back and looked at all the HPC agenda items, and there's not any conversations in those meetings about the master plan. And then last is, are waters worth it? Conserve and protect public health, go above and beyond to improve drinking water. I'm embarrassed that we are accepting this award when over 14 quarters, quarter over quarter, since 2021, we have had water levels that are exceeding the minimum requirements allowed. I don't know how we can stand up there and be proud and accept this award. It's honestly been going on since 2015, when there was recommended levels of 14 and 15 particles, and we were at 70. Granted, it wasn't regulated, and we were doing it voluntarily, but this has been going on for such a long time. I don't understand how we are sitting there and not explaining to the public what's really been going on and accepting that award. It's embarrassing. It's not professional in any sense of the way, and I will continue to advocate for that, because I don't understand how we can do that.
Can you wrap it up, Denise?
Yep, and speaking last about the water and the lead sample, we have 28,000 households, but the sample size is only 35. I'd really like to see more on that as well. Thank you.
We have no other commenters remotely, and so if somebody would like to respond to any particular matter that was brought up here.
Deputy Mayor, may I go
Yes.
first? Okay, thank you. First of all, to Mr. Loving, if there's ever an issue that you detect, and I've learned very quickly being here that you're not shy, but if you do detect a pothole, whether it's our responsibility or some other agency, the county or PSC&G, by all means send that to us. And just like Mike did, I'm sure we can get a positive response for you there. Mr. Hallaby, thank you for your compliments. I always appreciate that. With regard to your question on Bergen County and NJDEP's position on turf fields, I don't know if they have a formal written position, but what I can tell you is that Bergen County Open Space, the trust fund allocations, and also the NJDEP Green Acres program continue to this day to fund turf fields through their application processes throughout the state of New Jersey. I don't know how easy it would be for you to find that information. I think Bergen County does list all of their open space awards on an annual basis, but I can confirm that both Bergen County and Green Acres do fund turf fields throughout the state, if that information is helpful. Ms. Loving, I'll yield to Councilmember Winograd on your comments. Ms. O'Keefe, I think some of your comments were directed at me. I don't take anything away from your compassion and your empathy, which I've recognized from the first day I walked into this building and you stood at that podium. What I said I resented was the implication that I didn't care. So it's no reflection on you. It was a reflection on how I felt your comments reflected on me and the other members of this dais, just to be clear on that. To Ms. Lima, I'll let Heather respond to the inquiry about the minutes.
I can tell you that we have had conversations about expanding hybrid access. It does come down to resources and staffing because we need IT staff support to televise these council meetings. So therefore, if we were to televise zoning board meetings or planning board meetings, we need to have the staff available to be able to operate from the back room here, and that's been a challenge. But it is definitely something that is on our radar and something that we are considering going forward. One thing I want to point out about the Ridgewood Water Award, first of all, we didn't ask for the award. The DEP decided that we were going to be the first recipient of the reward. But if you want a crystal clear visual reason why we received that award, go on our social media outlets and see the posts that we put out today where we received 8 vessels at the Prospect Treatment Station down by the Water Pollution Control Facility, where you have this massive crane installing these PFAS treatment vessels. There could be no more clear reason for NJDEP to select Ridgewood Water than watching that reel on social media. That is the work that Rich Calby and his team at Ridgewood Water are doing every day with our contractors to build out a state-of-the-art water treatment facility to take PFAS out of our water by 2026. So I understand that there are folks out there who wish this happened more quickly, and I respect that, actually, because one of the challenges, one of the boundaries or barriers to getting this project complete was COVID. This was authorized pre-COVID, but because of the difficulty in getting the equipment and the materials, the building materials to be able to build these facilities out, that was the delay in being able to do this more quickly. And the DEP and Ridgewood Water worked out a schedule to complete this project in light of the challenges that COVID brought to this project. So again, if you haven't seen it yet, go on social media, take a look at that reel that Carol posted earlier today, and you will see exactly why Ridgewood Water received that award and is deserving of that award.
If I can just be brief and respond to 1 or 2 points. To my friend Ann about your comments about the conversation we had on the dais last time. Please don't confuse candor and directness with disrespect. I have the utmost respect for Lorraine. I consider her a colleague and a friend. But there are times when we're going to disagree, and we owe it to the voters to be vocal in our disagreement and advocate for our positions. And I don't believe we ever crossed that line of getting to the point of disrespect. I hope we never do. But I do think candor and directness is a virtue, and I know all of us are going to continue to do that. To my friend Cynthia, similarly, you did say that we have disdain for our Shedler neighbors. There's nothing that could be further from the truth. Again, we just disagree. Reasonable people can disagree on soccer fields and what to do with the park that we bought. To say that we have disdain simply because we didn't reach the position that you advocated for, it doesn't mean that we have disdain for you. It doesn't mean that we did not listen to you. It just means we have a difference of opinion. And again, reasonable people can disagree on topics such as this. And so when we talk about words like having disdain or saying somehow we're not transparent and not involving folks, I don't want the people at home or other people who are listening to this to really credit that simply because we just have a disagreement. And finally, to Boyd and to Rurik, always great to hear nice things. Normally we have the police officers or other folks get sworn in. I say this is my favorite part of the job, and certainly when we get compliments for our wonderful staff, we appreciate that as well, along with the negative feedback, which we also deserve, so we can make things better.
Siobhan? Sure. So with respect to a couple things, first of all, we have a great dynamic as a group up here. And so similar to what Evan said, I know Lorraine knows this, but I do think of them as her sidewalks because she is a consistent advocate for walkability, for incorporating that element of the master plan. During the budget, Lorraine advocated for it. Where are you over there? I'm very proud of her for that. I think we all joined her in that. She made us look at it differently. And so they are your sidewalks, and I think you should take a bow, and I think the rest of the council feels that you really pushed us to consider that and fund it and make it a priority. So by no means was that an insult. It's a good thing. I'm really pleased with the gap of sidewalks. You know, when we talk, sometimes she says my shade trees, I say your sidewalks. It was meant as a compliment, and I think everybody should join us in congratulating Lorraine with her initiatives, because you did great and you took a lot of our budget for it, which is good. The second thing that I wanted to address is I was going to bring this up in my council report, but the word sapling was used all across the board there. We are not planting saplings at Shedler. We are planting trees. A sapling is a low-cost, very young tree, right? It's not a whip. It's tiny. It needs extra love and attention. So we are not planting saplings at Shedler. We're planting expensive, bigger trees. A sapling costs about $35, and a tree costs about $275 when we buy it in bulk. What has happened with our sourcing in shade tree, and we had a discussion last night, is that within Somerville we have 90 saplings, and we go out and we say which area can take which sapling. The large trees that will be yielded from the small saplings, we have no sourcing problem because we have 60 small sites. We're having a little bit of trouble of finding those 60 saplings across 5 species. We did send it out to a larger audience. We are hopeful that we'll get them. It's a very good problem to have that people want 90 saplings. The 30 large are there, and I'm confident we're going to find all 90. The other thing is that the 90 saplings, just because we're talking about it, are not demonstrated, right? 90 sites might not yield 90 saplings because they might be boxed out. So I know that's news to the council. 30 are secured, they're good, and the remaining 60 we're working on. Similarly, Cynthia, I totally agree with Evan, but I also want to echo that one of the primary parts of my campaign and Evan's was that the failure to develop Shedler has left your neighborhood isolated. And one of the primary reasons we purchased it as a town and invested $2.6 million in the house was to integrate the neighborhood into the community. There's always been that sense of loss since 1986 when they closed Glen. I remember that, and one of the primary purposes was to integrate it, to get people from the other side of 17 to go over there and see it. And the failure to develop the park has made us unable to do that because we can't bring them into the house. We don't have any activities there. So we fully support what Janet Fricke wrote, the need to integrate, and I really appreciate your advocacy, and I just, we disagree on the turf, and we really do, and I just want to say that. But the integration has been a longstanding goal for the community. And lastly, with Denise, with enhancing hybrid access, we also have the outstanding issue from the disability crowd that we would like to do closed captioning. So the more that we spend on hybrid access to increase other boards, the less robust this one comes. Hearing is the invisible disability. It impacts a large portion of people. So as we discuss enhancing access, I really think we need to discuss closed captioning. And that's it.
Yeah, through you, Deputy Mayor, Carol in my office has been researching that, and she's been working with Dylan on that, so I'm hopeful that by the end of the year we'll have some recommendations to make.
I would like to reiterate what Ann said. We did at one time have a nursery for trees. I can't remember where it was, but ideas that have been kicked around since are at the recycling center or over by the Bel Air tennis courts. Anyway, we'll talk about that some more. Denise, I like your idea about saving the Red River rocks, but I do disagree with you that on the Our Water is Worth It award. Ridgewood Water works around the clock to give us potable water. And please remember that the nightmare of PFAS was foisted on us by third parties, by corporations who were making a profit, who knew what they were doing. And Ridgewood Water had to clean up the mess and has done an excellent job. They are brought in to instruct other towns, other counties, other parts of the state as to how to do it like we did it. And imagine building a city underground. That's basically what they have to do to connect our water system and to ensure that these 12 new facilities at the cost of $150 million will work to deliver clean, potable water without PFAS. Imagine if that bill of $150 million were foisted on taxpayers all at once. This is a long-term project, and the award, I believe, was very well deserved. Let's see. Oh, the Planning Board subcommittee that tracks the accomplishments in line with the master plan consists of Richard Joel, Diane O'Brien, myself, and Rob Willis. When one person can't attend, David Refkin steps in. And so far as I know, there has not been progress on the historic corridor mentioned in the master plan. So that's all I have with regard to public comment. Let's go on now.
I just wanted to say one thing. That's okay. I just ditto on what you said with Ridgewood Water. It really, it's amazing what Ridgewood Water has done, and it's really sad when I hear people say something negative about Ridgewood Water, because Rich Calby has led his team and done a phenomenal job. I mean, we are so far ahead of other towns, and that is why we got the award, and it is well deserved, and it is mostly due to the efforts of Rich Calby and, you know, his vision. And I really, before people say anything negative, they should really do some research and see how well Ridgewood has taken this on and done such a great job. That's it.
Thank you, Lorraine. We'll go to the manager's report.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. First, I want to begin tonight by congratulating Lucas, Joseph, and Adam on their graduation from the Bergen County Police Academy and their formal swearing in tonight. I had the opportunity last week to attend their graduation ceremony, and it was absolutely beautiful. They are joining the ranks of an outstanding police department, as was said earlier by the Deputy Mayor here in Ridgewood, and I wish them the best as they begin their careers. I want to remind everyone that property taxes were due back on August 1st. However, since the bills were delayed this year, there is a grace period until August 26th. If taxes are not paid by August 26th, the interest will revert back to August 1st. Please know that by sending out only one tax bill this year, rather than the estimated and then the regular tax bill, the village saved about $5,000 in printing and postage costs. Today we released an outline of the next steps with regard to the soil testing at Shedler. Testing found exceedances, as was discussed at last week's work session. The reports are now online, both the berm report, which was completed and put up back in June, and then the grid testing that was reported on last week. Both of those reports are available on the village website under projects. Go to Shedler, and the link is right there. With regard to the next steps, soil delineation testing will begin, if approved tonight by the council, within the next 30 days. Results will be provided to the village upon completion, and those reports as well will be posted to the village website. Once the results are received, Matrix will provide conclusive recommendations as to the remediation that is required on the site with the approval of the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. It should also be noted that the village has been advised that there is no need to close off access to the property. I want to stress that the village unquestionably takes the health and safety of our residents and our employees very seriously. As we've stated previously, this village council will do everything in its power to address the soil remediation issues that have resulted from the creation of the berm starting back in 2019. If anyone has any questions regarding the soil testing, please do not hesitate to contact me via email, and the village staff or our professional team from Matrix will provide responses to specific inquiries regarding this matter. It should also be noted that we are working through filing an insurance claim with the environmental JIF on the issue related to Shedler. Also in regard to soil, in preparation for the pavilion project and the playground work at Habernickel Park, and following the removal of the barn structure, we conducted soil testing recently there as well. There was one isolated exceedance of an arsenical compound. We tested 8 total areas in Habernickel. The preliminary recommendation for the one exceedance is the removal of a 5 by 5 foot area. Everything else tested clean, including the garden and the area closer to the playground. Delineation testing, just as we have to do at Shedler, is now required, and I'm awaiting the paperwork from Matrix, which I anticipate receiving tomorrow. There's no reason to cordon off the area. The compound is not at the surface level, and there is no reason to restrict any access at the park, nor will it deter the installation of the pavilion project or ultimately the new playground. The village is working closely with Matrix and following all NJDEP requirements to address this issue as well. Yesterday, we held a meeting with Conley and Hickey, who are contracted for the improvements to the pedestrian tunnel at the train station. It was a great meeting, and they plan to make a presentation on their concept plans at the September 25th work session to the Village Council. I want to welcome our new court administrator, Erica Will. Erica comes to us with experience. She was the court administrator with the city of Hackensack. She'll be managing all 3 towns, Ridgewood, Glenrock, and Wyckoff, through our shared services agreement. She's off to a great start, and we certainly wish her well. A few announcements. The Ridgewood Guild continues to hold their Music in the Night downtown on Fridays through Labor Day. Music in the Park on Saturday evenings from 7:30 to 9:30 continue at Van Ness Square. The summer concert series at Cashaw Shell continue through Labor Day, 8 p.m. on Tuesday nights and 8:30 on Thursday nights. The Ridgewood Guild is sponsoring free movies in the park Wednesdays at 8:15. Tonight was the day after tomorrow, and next August 28th is Batman. This coming Monday, there will be a demonstration of the new voting machines that started to be used here in Bergen County during the primary election. Through the efforts of Deanna, who coordinates a lot of our senior programs here in the village, she's been able to set this up through the Bergen County Superintendent of Elections office. They will demonstrate from start to finish what the voter will experience on Election Day, or if they participate in early voting. Space is limited for this program, so we are encouraging people to register through Community Pass or call the Recreation Department at 201-670-5500, extension 5560. The senior bus will also have a special run on this particular day to bring folks who are interested in this program here to Village Hall, and you can call Beth in my office at extension 2203 to make arrangements for transportation. The Ridgewood Chamber of Commerce continues their farmers market through October 29th from 8:30 to 2 p.m. at the train station on the west side. Ridgewood Chamber of Commerce will be hosting their 29th annual car show in the CBD on Friday night, September 6th, starting at 6 p.m. Village of Ridgewood offices will be closed on September 2nd in observance of Labor Day. There will be no sanitation, recycling, or yard waste pickup on that day. Please check the village calendar for the adjusted garbage, recycling, and yard waste collection dates. And our upcoming council meeting, September 4th is a work session, September 11th is a public meeting, and September 30th is a work session. All begin at 7:30. And that concludes my report, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Evan, would you like to give us your report?
Yeah, I can be somewhat brief. Most of my committees are still out for the summer. Historical Preservation Committee did meet earlier this week. We actually had 5 applications. It was a busy night. Really great group. Really privileged to be a part of it, and always thank them for their service. Ridgewood Arts Council has been off, but we've been emailing and doing some reaching out to other groups to see about planning events with them in the fall and the spring. Very excited about some things that we've already got on the agenda, which I'll probably put in my comments as we get closer to this to the fall. The Ridgewood Arts Council has been active as well. I did just want to direct everyone's attention. In preparing for tonight's meeting, I was looking over some of the consent items that we're going to approve tonight. Just looking at, installing the structure at Habernickel Park. We're awarding money tonight for the lights to go over Vets Field. We're authorizing a shared service agreement, something all of us really support, for the styrofoam dedensifier, which is not only great for the environment, also gets us some money back for some infrastructure enhancements that we made. But this is sort of the not very sexy, kind of boring, really great government work that I think we've been doing. And this isn't partisan, this isn't one versus the other, it's just the stuff that doesn't get as much attention as it should, but it really should, because this is the stuff that really affects most people's lives day to day. And I'm just really proud of some of the stuff that we're doing that sometimes flies under the radar. With that, on a personal note, I bought my late season pass for Graydon. Spent part of the last weekend there. It was really, really beautiful. Keith, Nancy's doing a wonderful job, and the whole Parks and Recs department is doing just a wonderful job. Water was super clear. Everything was clean. It was packed. Really well done. And now that I have my season pass, I'm going to make sure I get my money's worth. I plan to go back several times before Labor Day, but really, really, really well done. Finally, as this is our last meeting before the end of the summer, I want to wish everyone in the dais, everyone here, everyone at home, have a great Labor Day and the rest of your summer.
Thanks, Evan. Siobhan?
Sure. So last night we met at Shade Tree, and it was a very productive meeting. I want to thank Nancy Brennan-Hill and Adam for running it. Just for the council and for the public, one of the discussions we still have is implementing and addressing better policies and procedures for weeds and that was Cynthia and weeds and the tree wells. So Lorraine and I have been working on that together. We're going to be reviewing it with the council because now that we've invested so much time, money, love, and attention in the wells, we want to make sure that the fines are consistent and they're even for the first time and then a little bit heavier. So they've made some recommendations, and I know Lorraine and I are on the same page with this, that's going to be forthcoming in September. In addition to that, I'm thrilled to say that we received our report cards on our big tree nominations, and all of our trees made it to the registry. And what ends up happening is you get a report card, and I won't read all of them to you, but the tree that Matt Rogers nominated, which I think is great, while walking his dog, and he mentioned it, and it was also echoed by Shade Tree, is the largest pin oak in Bergen County. So we are first in Bergen County on 2 species, and it gives you the estimated, it also gives you its Latin name, which is fun if, my daughter loves Latin, and how many gallons of water they drink. So we made it onto the registry officially as a municipality with 5 trees, and the Board of Ed's 1 tree at Somerville, who, as you remember, was reading Big Tree, the story of the seedlings, their tree made it as well. So I want to thank NJDEP and the Forester and Shade Tree, particular Kevin and Tim Graham, for making that happen. If anybody else has any trees they'd love to nominate, please send them to us, and Shade Tree will review them. It's just really cool, and if you guys want to see them, you can see their statistics. It's excellent, and we'll be calling them out on social media and giving these trees their place online. So that's it.
Thank you. Councilwoman Reynolds.
Thank you. I haven't had any committee meetings since last week, but I wanted to say I have recently found out that I am going to be having an opening on the Citizen Safety Advisory Committee. So if you are interested in that, you can go to the website, download the, what is it called, Citizens Volunteer Leadership Form, and apply. We would love to have you. And then I just wanted to bring up, I spoke with the village manager this afternoon about the money that we're spending on remediation and the archaeological dig at Shedler. We had bonded $350,000, and after tonight's vote, we will have approximately $90,000 left. So I wanted to start the conversation in my opinion, it's going to be more than $90,000 unless we do get money back from insurance claims, which we don't know. But I want to start the conversation about what if we need more than the $90,000 that we have left. Where are we going to get that money from? The last time when we bonded the $350,000, and I was against it because we took the money from the capital budget of 2025, right? Is that where we ended up taking it? Or did we just have an emergency appropriation?
I think the direction of council was on both, let's say, unexpected bond ordinances that were introduced and adopted this year, which would have been the monies for the water pollution control facility, and then the testing / archaeological bond for Shedler, that would come off the $7.5 million that we traditionally try to earmark for capital projects in the ensuing year.
For next
so
year.
we would essentially take that off the top of what we appropriate in 2025.
Right. So I don't want to take anything more off of 2025. What I'd like to, I'm hoping that maybe we can have Bob Rooney at the next work session, and he can explain to us if there is a possibility. You know, I misspoke once before. I don't want to misspoke again. But I think there is the possibility of taking some money that's already been earmarked for Shedler, and if we need more than $90,000, there is the possibility of doing something with the 1.9 or close to 1.9 million that we already have earmarked. So I just want to get the ball rolling, because I don't want to get into a situation where a couple months down the road we need $150,000 and everybody's like, we got to do an emergency. We don't have time to do anything else. Like, we need to be prepared if we're going to need more money and know what we could do. And I don't want anybody saying, you know, I'm grandstanding, it's a political, nothing against you, Evan, but that will be said if I hold my tongue until that point comes. So that's why I'm speaking out now, and I really would love to have Bob here at the next work session to see if there's something we could be doing to plan if we need more than the $90,000.
And through you, Deputy Mayor, after that discussion was had the last time before we appropriated the $350,000 for this purpose, Bob and I did seek written clarification from both bond counsel and from our village auditor. So we have those documents that we can share with the council as well as to the process.
And I'm curious to see what Matrix says about what they find on delineation and all that, and what DEP has to say, which is also important.
I'm sorry, do we know when we'll have a decision on the insurance proceeds or an idea from Matrix what this is all going to cost?
So what's before you tonight, Councilman, with regard to the delineation, that needs to be complete. We're actually going to expedite that testing because I can't submit the full claim to the environmental JIF without an estimate as to what the costs are going to be to do any type of remediation.
And do we have an idea from Matrix?
If we approve this, if you approve this resolution tonight and we sign off on the contracts tomorrow, which is what we anticipate to do, we'll have results back in 30 days.
Great. Okay.
Or less.
Okay.
Could I just add to that? I mean, I fully think we need to get ready to be ready, but until we have the insurance information and all of that in, I mean, I support that, Lorraine, and we should be thinking about what we want to cancel out if it exceeds, but we don't know if it's going to exceed. I mean, should we wait till we have more information before we put it on the workshop? In addition to that, could we get, because I think it's 11 bonds across Shedler, I mean, if we're going to start canceling it, we should all be versed in what's left open. I mean, clearly, you know, everybody has a priority for park development, and I think all 5 of us would agree the number 1 priority now is remediation, right? So then we'd have to start scorecarding, you know, what's left in each bucket, right? There's different buckets, you know, clearly, you know, I'm just speaking out loud here, but, you know, we need to get a parking lot in there because the house is inaccessible, particularly to disabled people. So we need Bob Rooney, if we're going to have the discussion, to give us each of the outstanding ordinances, their earmarking, and what's left. And I think that's a good idea, but I don't know if we're ready to have the discussion, because if we get it all covered by insurance, we don't need it.
Well, I think having the discussion about how much money is there and in each bucket, and just a possibility of what can be done if we need more money, I think we need to start that conversation.
I think Bob Rooney will tell us when we can start the conversation. Okay, I'm going to give you my report. It is that the Open Space Committee will be having its next park walk on September 14th, Saturday at 10 a.m., and that is going to be in Van Ness Square. Matt Lindenberg will be our member who has been doing a lot of research, and he'll be giving the tour, so it should be very interesting. Again, that's September 14th at 10 a.m. at Van Ness Square. The Residential Flood Advisory Committee is still taking, well, I should say the clerk's office is still taking applications, the volunteer forms for people who have been flooded inside their homes, if they would like to join this committee that we are forming to give voice to the people who have been flooded. Also, I just wanted to let you know that the Special Improvement District Steering Committee continues to meet every other week and sometimes more than that as part of the feasibility study. And we are closing in on the end of Phase 1, and then we'll be going on to Phase 2 of the feasibility study. And with that, we'll turn to our agenda. We have no ordinances for Ridgewood Water, but we do have a consent agenda.
Yes, so the following resolutions numbered 24-251 through 24-254 will be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the Village Council. They will be read by title only. Title 59, approval, water service line main to curb replacements. Award contract, water service line main to curb replacements. Award professional services contract, lead service line replacement program. Implementation phase, award contract, soil disposal for Ridgewood Water projects. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
and Winograd.
Yes.
We'll go on now to the introduction of Ordinance 4009. I move the first reading of Ordinance 4009.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
So ordered. Will the clerk please read Ordinance 4009 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 145 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, fees at Section 145-6, enumeration of fees relating to code chapters.
I move that Ordinance 4009 be adopted on the first reading and that September 11th, 2024 be fixed as the date of the hearing thereon.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
and Winograd.
Yes.
I move the first reading of Ordinance 4010.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
So ordered. Will the clerk please read Ordinance 4010 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 3 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, Administration of Government, Article 5, Departments, at Section 3-43, Police Department.
I move that Ordinance 4010 be adopted on the first reading and that September 11th, 2024 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
and Winograd.
Yes.
I move the first reading of Ordinance 4011.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
and Winograd.
Yes.
So ordered. Will the clerk please read Ordinance 4011 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 190, Land Use and Development of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood to modify standards for site plan exemptions and certificates of continued occupancy.
I move that Ordinance 4011 be adopted on the first reading and that September 11th, 2024 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
and Winograd.
Yes.
I move the first reading of Ordinance 4012.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
and Winograd.
Yes.
So ordered. Will the clerk please read Ordinance 4012 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 265 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, Vehicles and Traffic, at Section 265-27, Taxi Stands, and Section 265-72, Schedule 22, Loading Zones, and Section 265-73, Schedule 23, Taxi Stands.
I move that Ordinance 4012 be adopted on the first reading and that September 11th, 2024 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
and Winograd.
Yes.
We have no public hearings, no resolutions. The following resolutions, numbered 24-255 through 24-277, with the exception of Resolution 24-263, which will be considered off of the consent agenda. All those other resolutions will be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the Village Council. They will be read by title only. Title 59 approval, Cottage Place Parking Lot Tree Planting Program. Award contract under state contract, computer equipment for the Village of Ridgewood and Ridgewood Water. Award contract under state contract, Tough Book replacement for Police Department. Award contract under state contract, purchase of polygon structure for Habernacle Family Park. Award contract under Educational Services Commission of New Jersey Cooperative Purchasing Contract, installation of polygon structure at Habernacle Family Park. Award contract under Educational Services Commission of New Jersey Cooperative Purchasing Contract, permanent lighting at Veterans Field. Award contract under Sourcewell and Bergen County contracts, purchase of mini loader, Parks Department. Award professional services contract, Phase 2, archaeological study of property around John A. L. Zabriskie House site. Authorized shared services agreement, Styrofoam densifier with Fairlawn. Rescind and replace resolution number 24-198, award contract, Police Patrol motorcycle, Police Department, name change of vendor. Authorized settlement agreement, OnQ Technologies, Inc. Authorized application, acceptance, execution, and expenditure of American Rescue Plan firefighter grants. Accept 2023 annual audit, approve 2023 corrective action plan, endorse community development block grant application, Share Inc., 130 Prospect Street, remove and replace patio, declare property surplus, IT equipment, declare property surplus, sanitation vehicle, appoint members to Shade Tree Commission, appoint members to Green Ridgewood, appoint member to Green Team Advisory Committee, and appoint member to SID, Special Improvement District Steering Committee. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
and Winograd.
Yes.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me just get to these resolutions.
Whenever you're ready.
Resolution number 24-263. Whereas the Village of Ridgewood has a need to acquire the professional services of a licensed site remediation professional, LSRP, to address the request of the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, NJDEP, regarding the soils at the Shedler site, 460 West Saddle River Road, Ridgewood, New Jersey, Block 4704, lots 9, 10, 11, and 12, to include delineation sampling of 9 former soil sampling sites which exceed NJDEP soil remediation standards, SRS, as a non-fair and open contract pursuant to the provisions of NJSA 19:44A-20.4. Whereas the Chief Financial Officer has determined and certified in writing the value of the professional service will exceed $17,500. And whereas the anticipated term of this contract is from September 1st, 2024 through August 30th, 2025. And whereas Matrix New World Engineering, Land Surveying, and Landscape Architecture, PC, 26 Columbia Turnpike, Florham Park, New Jersey, will provide the professional services of a licensed site remediation professional for the Shedler site soils delineation for the Village of Ridgewood for an amount not to exceed $50,000, and such funds are available in account number C-04-55-9DG-692. And whereas Matrix New World Engineering, Land Surveying, and Landscape Architecture has submitted business entity disclosure certifications which certify that Matrix New World Engineering, Land Surveying, and Landscape Architecture has not made any reportable contributions to a political or candidate committee in the Village of Ridgewood in the previous 1 year, and that the contract will prohibit Matrix New World Engineering, Land Surveying, and Landscape Architecture from making any reportable contributions to the term of the contract. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood authorize and directs the village manager to sign the authorization to proceed with Matrix New World Engineering, Land Surveying, and Landscape Architecture for LSRP services for delineation sampling of 9 former soil sampling sites which exceed the NJDEP soil remediation standards, and their notice of this action shall be printed once in the Ridgewood News pursuant to the local public contracts law as set forth in NJSA 2024:11-1 at SEC. Be it further resolved that the Chief Financial Officer has certified that funds are available, and be it finally resolved that the business disclosure entity certification and determination of value be placed on file with this resolution. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin?
Yes.
Reynolds?
I'm going to vote no because the cost for this is $43,000. The village is paying an extra $7,000 to expedite it. That's a 17% charge. I know it doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it's a few weeks probably. I mean, I think Matrix would probably get it to us as quickly as possible anyway, but even if it's a few weeks, we're already like going into the fall. Nothing is going to happen. Like it's all going to, the Shedler thing is all going to be paperwork as far as I'm concerned, at least through the next 6 months. And I think we need to be more careful with our money and paying 17% premium to have it expedited a little. We've paid Matrix a lot. We're going to pay them a lot. I mean, I think we could have done better than a 17% upcharge. So I'm voting no.
Okay. Whites?
It's actually a very reasonable point, Lorraine. I disagree, but it actually makes a ton of sense and gave me something to think about. But with that, I do think we need to get this done as soon as possible. It is a safety issue. Again, obviously, we want to get the park done in whatever form it is. But I am a yes vote. Although to the folks who say that I don't give Lorraine credit sometimes, that's actually a great point. But I'm going to vote yes tonight.
Winograd?
Yeah, I too am going to vote yes. I think the sooner we can have all the informational available for us to be decision makers and to address the public concern, it's worth the additional fee. I think public safety comes in many shapes and form, and the neighbors need the peace of mind to understand the full extent, and it's money well spent. The faster we can return factual information to the community and most importantly the neighborhood, the better. Yes.
Okay. Whereas the Village of Ridgewood resolution number 24-279. Whereas the Village of Ridgewood is a municipality organized pursuant to NJSA 40:76-23, more commonly known as the Faulkner Act, and established by referendum pursuant to the act known as a council manager form of government, see NJSA 40:69A-92, in which the village council appoints a professional manager to exercise the functions of the municipality and act as the chief executive and administrative official of the village, supervising all departments and negotiating contracts for the village subject to village council approval. And whereas the village has recently become aware that pursuant to 28 CFR 35.107A coordinator and 28 CFR 35.107B grievance procedure, the village is required to have a disability coordinator and a disability hearing procedure in place in order to be compliant with Title II of the American with Disabilities Act, hereinafter ADA. And whereas to further compliance with the Act, the village manager has decided to appoint the village manager's position to be the disability coordinator to comply with the ADA requirements, to oversee any investigation of any complaint communicated to it alleging noncompliance with the ADA or alleging any actions that would be prohibited pursuant to the ADA. The village shall make available to all interested individuals the name, office address, and office telephone number of the village manager so designating served at the time of the complaint. And whereas to further comply with the ADA, the village will adopt and publish grievance procedures providing for prompt and equitable resolution of any complaints alleging any action that would be prohibited by the ADA. Now therefore be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, that the position of village manager shall be the designated disability coordinator pursuant to 28 CFR 35.107A, and that the village manager shall direct the preparation of a grievance procedure compliant with 28 CFR 35.107B and subject to the review and acceptance of the village attorney. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Perrin?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
And Winograd?
Yes.
All right, now we go back to public comment.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Boyd A. Loving, Ridgewood. With respect to the announcement this evening that contamination has been discovered at Habernickel, I'm wondering when complete information about that may be posted on the website so that people can view it, and also whether a map could be posted so that people could determine exactly where on the property this contamination was found, since it is a 5-foot by 5-foot parcel. I believe that's what was said. It's not like Shedler where it's everywhere. There's a particular spot that people might wish to steer away from, even though the managers assured us that there is no danger. Some people might feel as though they would like to avoid that area. So I'm just wondering if a little diagram could be posted indicating where.
Yes, yes, and yes.
Yes, yes, and yes. Okay, great. And when will that?
So I don't have the report yet, and I struggle with this because I want to be transparent and I want the public to know what we know, but I also want the public to have accurate and factual information. So I made the decision to bring this to everyone's attention tonight. I don't have the full report, but once I do, just like we've done with Shedler, we will post this on the website as well for transparency, and there'll be a map that indicates what the area is.
And my final, it was not revealed tonight, to use the word revealed, but I'm just wondering if there was any indication from Matrix New World as to where they think this contamination may have originated
The
from.
compound that's been detected, Boyd, is in New Jersey soil. So I don't believe there was any specific act or any type of deliberative act that would have caused this to happen. I think this is a consequence of living in North Jersey. I talk to Matrix more than I talk to any other professional right now. And, we live in a highly dense state. We live in a place where this was a historical, there were historical buildings on this property that were removed. That barn, even though it was aluminum sided later in life, was there for a long time. Who knows what happened on that property decades ago?
Okay.
And quite frankly, once we did the initial round of testing, which was 5 locations, we went back out because there's a garden there and there's a playground, and there were no exceedances on the second level testing, so that gave us a little peace of mind that this is just one specific area. The 5 by 5 foot area, as it's been explained to me, is actually a little larger than the area that this tested underground. So I think this is a quick fix in the grand scheme of things. But this is it's a public park, and we will certainly post the report once it's received.
And my last comment about Habernickel is there was a comment made about the bathrooms, where the bathrooms needed to be located. I guess I have a concern about excessive digging that may take place to get a sewer line in there. Mm-hmm. I don't think that you can put septic up there. So I'm assuming that wherever these bathrooms go, it's going to be someplace that we can get a sewer line in easy.
And there are some sewer lines up at the park already. I mean, obviously, you have a home there. So we've actually taken where the sanitary lines are into account in sort of projecting where the restroom facilities may go.
Okay, thank you very much. And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Anyone else in the room?
Good evening again, Ann Loving. Couple questions. One is regarding the railroad tunnel. I was very happy that those 2 convex mirrors were put up after I had asked about it, but I had mentioned subsequently that there really needs to be 3 more, and nothing further had happened on that, because from the 3 staircases you can't see when you're coming down the 3 staircases, and apparently that since they were up there before and now 2 more have been put up again, that doesn't impact the historic work that Connolly and Hickey is going to do. Another thing is, I appreciate, as always, that Councilwoman Reynolds is looking out for our money, and I was interested that Councilman White said that he really thought the $7,000 was worth it because it's a safety issue, when we heard earlier in the meeting the village manager say there's no safety issue, we don't have to put up signs, around the park warning everybody. So I don't get where it's a safety issue. I don't understand why when one council member asks for something to go on the agenda at the next work session, specifically a request that Bob Rooney could come and talk about funding, I don't understand why one council person doesn't have the right to do that and why two people basically said, no, that's not going to happen. I thought everybody was equal up there. And finally, regarding the insurance for Shedler, I sure hope we get it, but it seems to me that there was, that it's kind of our fault that contaminated soil is there. Whoever was overseeing it, the village engineer or whoever, when the soil was delivered, and I don't know if we're going to get insurance for that. If you do something wrong, why would insurance pay? I hope they do, but it's a concern of mine. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll go to the people who are on by remote access. Denise?
Good evening, Denise Lima, Ridgewood, New Jersey. Two topics to just circle back on: hybrid access. Siobhan, just so you know, and village manager also, that Zoom, Zagat, and YouTube all have audio-visual settings that allow for closed caption. So if somebody, we just need to give instructions on how to go into the settings to do that. It's super, super simple. I do that when speaking to people overseas that have heavy accents, and it's available on all three of those software applications. Thank you, Keith, for looking into or thinking about expanding hybrid to at least this year one of the other boards. We could take baby steps, but I do think that we should continue. Let's not slow down. Let's continue to make progress and offer hybrid there, and more importantly, the Sunshine Books online, because it's really hard to understand what some of the changes are if you don't have the Sunshine Books. And last, I'm going to circle back about Ridgewood Water. Because I'm talking about facts of our water, first let me just say, for the people that don't know, I spent multiple years as a director of the League of Women Voters and spent a lot of time talking about tap into Ridgewood Water. Made bumper stickers, supported Mr. Calby, went to his open houses. I'm all there. But just because I'm stating facts of what's on the Ridgewood Water site about not having water that is below the requirements for over 14 quarters, over 3 years, and violations this year in January and May of missing our reports on disinfectant, missing our schedule and sampling to New Jersey DEP, don't construe that with something negative. Again, just because it's different, you don't like hearing it, but it is facts. Our water quality has been suffering for years. In 2022, in a September Village Council meeting, Mr. Calpe said all the PFAS will be eliminated by 2023. And here we are in 2024. I get it's difficult. I get it's, third-party contaminants. But, we're still waiting for this to happen. And so when I look at the newsletter and the quotes about, in all due fairness, right, the award was twofold. One was conserving water, which doing a great job, 20% decrease. I think we're all in and understand the importance of that. The second part of the award, which is the controversial thing, is all about the cleanliness of the safe drinking water. And here we are saying, Ridgewood Water is a national leader in maintaining the highest level of safe drinking water. I don't understand how we can say that and not be sued and stand behind that when we have 14 quarters of excessive chemicals in our drinking water. Somebody has to explain that. We're going to be sued one of these days by going out on a limb and saying that when it's just false. I mean, anybody can go and read the www site for water.ridgewoodnj.net, read the water violations and what we've been submitting. They're all truthful, all transparent. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how we can do that. So just my feedback. It's not negative. It's just the facts. You know, people may differ. I don't know how you could differ when I'm just writing about the facts. Thank you.
Okay, we have no more public commenters, and does anybody want to respond?
I do. I just want to be clear. I did not and would not say to a council member they can't have something on the agenda. What we have an agreement, a professional agreement amongst all 5 of us, and Heather will attest to this, is that when it comes on the agenda, we need to make sure that in our packets we have enough information to draw upon. And the information that we needed was enhanced from Bob Rooney. We need the balances in each 11 bonds. So we would not block an agenda, but what we would do is if we didn't have information, and this has happened before where we weren't ready, we've taken it off. All 5 of us want to make sure when the discussion comes out front, we're not drawing a conclusion or hearsay or anecdotal information, that we have all the numbers and the figures in front of us. So I just want to be clear.
We also are sensitive to asking our staff to work overtime late into the night. So for that reason, we want to be careful. I would also like to respond. I don't think Ridgewood Water ever represented that all the water we deliver would be PFAS-free by 2023. I think at most, Ridgewood Water represented that the Carr facility, the first one to open to treat for PFAS, would be up and running and delivering PFAS-free water. And that's all I have. Anyone else?
Through you, Deputy Mayor. Again, I don't speak for any of the council members, but I just want to give my perspective on the urgency of the test results on the delineation soil testing. I don't believe that this is a public safety issue. What I believe is that there is growing urgency amongst the community because they've reached out to me. They have questions. They're seeking answers through a variety of means. And that was one of the reasons that we talked to Matrix about expediting the soil testing, because I can sense that there is an urgency amongst folks. Most of them live in and around the Shedler property, not all, but they're interested in hearing what the future is going to hold and what the remediation is going to look like. I also just want to stress, and I didn't get a chance to say it during the vote, but the additional fee is for the lab to expedite the test results. It's not Matrix marking up the cost. It's the additional lab fees that are associated with them moving the testing more quickly than they do at their normal pace. So I just wanted to stress both of those things. I agree with the Deputy Mayor. I wasn't here in 2020. Well, I was here at the end of 2023. I wasn't here when any prior commitments were made. I've never heard of a commitment other than that, other than the completion of Carr. The year I've always heard has always been 2026. But I can tell you that the major delays, as I said earlier, I think had to do with COVID, and it stalled this project because the resources were just unavailable.
I just would like to also respond with regard to Ridgewood Water. I've been working with Ridgewood Water in a number of projects, including the PFAS project. The submittal of the overall plan by Ridgewood Water actually occurred, and Ridgewood Water started on a plan to treat PFAS before the most recent restricted numbers came out in terms of the permitted particles and what the exceedances were, long before that. And that's one of the reasons why Ridgewood Water has been at the forefront of this. There was a system-wide plan provided to DEP that was approved by DEP, and that was a requirement ahead of schedule that we met. And even though we had an approved plan to treat PFAS and DEP accepted the plan, because this is a system-wide plan, they still required us to send out notices that they gave everybody 1 year to fix and clean up their water. And if you didn't do it, then you were forced to send out notices on a regular basis that you hadn't done it yet. Our plan was always 2026. That was approved by DEP back in 21 or 22. So I think from a factual basis, if Denise wants some of the documents with regard to that, I can certainly help her get those, and maybe we can straighten that issue out, because Ridgewood Water has been at the forefront, even providing information to other water systems on how best to treat for PFAS, and was always way ahead of the game. So maybe I can help her out.
And I think Matt brings up a great point. Even during the build-out, we're required to send exceedance notices. That's state law. If you do water testing and you have materials in the water that exceed the standards, not too different than what we've been talking about here with soil, you're required to notify the public. It's no surprise that those notices continue to roll out, but if there were no plan in place, if the build-out wasn't occurring, the criticism would be warranted. But to say we're getting notices when we've invested $150 million in treating water so that in 2020, after 2026, we no longer get those notices, that's where I think there's a disconnect. We're going to continue to get notices until the treatment facilities are all up and running and the wells are consolidated to the 12 plants. And then at that time, you will no longer receive those notices unless there's an anomaly, because the water will be treated for all the concerning chemicals.
There is a timeline on Ridgewood Water's website, and they also put out a weekly notice that lets you know where they are in their timeline and what progress they're making. And at this point, I think we
I
can
just
take
have one more thing.
Oh, yes.
Keith, can we ask the signal department to see if we can get a few more mirrors?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ann, I missed that one. I had talked to Rich Charlton about it. I'll follow up with him in the morning.
Are we ready to have a resolution to go into closed session, Heather?
Be resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the Village Council meet in closed session on August 14th, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. or soon thereafter, as a matter on the agenda can be reached, and the said closed session will be held in the caucus room of the Ridgewood Village Hall, 131 North Maple Avenue, Ridgewood, New Jersey. Be it further resolved that the matters to be discussed in closed session is limited to legal matters to include the town garage. This matter is allowable under NJSA 10:4-12 et sec. And be it further resolved that the minutes of this meeting shall be made available to the general public when such matters have been deemed completed by resolution of the Village Council. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Okay, thank you.